Welcome back to our study called Uncommon Community here at Harvest KL. We're doing a study tonight on what it means to serve one another, and I want to start tonight with a negative illustration. I remember one time I saw a cartoon, a drawing of a picture of a woman who was very obviously sick and laying in bed. And beside her, or very clearly in the distance, there were dishes that were dirty in the sink and hadn't been washed. There was a pile of laundry that needed attention. And then down in one corner, there were two little kids who hadn't had a bath in a long time, and they were fighting with one another. Over in the other corner, there was a cat who was licking up milk that was spilled and hadn't been cleaned. And then in the doorway was her friend, a woman. And the caption read, she was sitting there and she was saying, "If you need anything, just call me and let me know." Unfortunately, I feel like we're like that in the church as well, where we see there are very obvious ways that we could get involved, but we're just waiting for somebody to call and to ask us to serve. Well, tonight we're doing a study from Galatians chapter 5, and verse 13 is the verse that you should have memorized. Say it with me. It says, "For you were called to freedom, brothers, only do not use your freedom as an opportunity for the flesh, but through love serve one another." Interesting, just a little bit of unpacking of this verse. At first it says that you were called to freedom, and really what that's describing is our salvation. We've been delivered from the bondage of the slavery to sin into a new master, Christ, and he called us into this freedom, and that means we have a new identity. You're not who you were. You're a new creation now. And with that new creation comes an empowerment to do what God has called you to. That's what freedom is for. Really what we're learning here tonight is that God doesn't save us so we can sit, but so that we serve. And in that, we see a continuation. That's really what the next part of the verse says, right? It says, only do not use your freedom as an opportunity for the flesh. What it's saying here is not for self-service. That's not why you were saved. But so many times I find that when there's a need for service, we actually move into self-service. And those are the excuses that we bring. We say, oh, I just don't have enough time, or I don't have enough money, or I'm too busy at work or with my hobby. I have kids to take care of. Don't you know that? And we come up with all sorts of excuses here that are really opportunities for the flesh. We're saying, you know what? It's all about me. But that's not how it was. My dad and mom, when I was young, they taught us songs as we went to bed. They would sing some songs to us, and there was a little child song called Jesus and Others and You. And because I'm not a worship pastor, I'm not going to sing it, but let me quote the words for you. It says, Jesus and others and you, what a wonderful way to spell joy. Jesus and others and you, in the life of each girl and each boy. J is for Jesus, for he has first place. O is for others you meet face to face. Y is for you in whatever you do. Put yourself last and spell joy. That's what this verse is saying. It says you've been called to freedom, only don't use it for yourself. That's the wrong order, reverse order. It's Jesus first, his priority and the identity that you have in that. And then that means others in front of you, and then you last. And that's the serving way. That's the joyful way. That's where we find great significance in life. And so uncommon community means we're going to serve one another. It means, first of all, little acts of service to each other. Another way of saying it, that we would sacrifice for somebody else. Or maybe third, little actions that show that you are thinking of me. These are all things that define and push us to be servants. And so it's important that we learn this, because if we don't, there's some drastic, disastrous effects. Our community, if we're not serving one another, ends up stale. Or even worse, impersonal, or we get into catty fights with one another. We build walls between each other, and because people are taking advantage of us. If we're a place where serving is not happening, that's the result. But good news, Jesus and others and you. If we start to serve one another, we find that it's a place of peace. And there's great unity among us. And there's love that's being exhibited. We're putting that love one another command into action. And we desire to be together. It's an attractive community that draws people to see the beauty of Jesus Christ, this new identity we have, because we're putting not our freedom first, not for our own benefit, but for others. That's the place of uncommon community that we want to be. And so uncommon community, it means we're called to serve, not to sit. Tonight, we're going to explore more details about how it is that we do that. And I would encourage you already be thinking now, how can I serve in a new way? How can I serve my small group? How can I serve my church? How can I serve my community? And show that my freedom isn't selfish and for me, but it's this new identity powered by Christ that I would serve others for their benefit. Harvest KL, you are loved.